What's up guys, I'm Håkon Abroad and I just got back from spending a few days in Ronda, Spain, a small city just a bit northwest of Malaga. Now this small city is built upon massive cliffs with a 100-meter deep canyon splitting the city in two, and this city absolutely blew me away, and I just have to talk about this place. So anyways, here is my list of some must-do things to do and see while you're in Ronda, Spain. So anyways, let's just get straight into it. Now let's start with the main highlight here in Ronda, Puente Nuevo. Now this is a massive bridge connecting the two sides of Ronda, crossing the El Tajo Gorge, and this is probably the view you have seen online. A huge stone bridge built in the 1700s, and the bridge is just so insane, and you can admire the view from so many different angles, and it's just so incredible to look at. And the bridge even lights up a bit in the afternoon once it gets dark, which is also pretty cool to see. Now for the best experience, don't just stay at the top. I would recommend you walk over to Puerta de los Molinos and walk down the path. Now there are a ton of great viewpoints along the way, so you can stop at different places and just admire the view. And you can also walk pretty far down if you want into the canyon. Now pretty close to the bottom you will even pass some old abandoned buildings, which was also pretty cool to look at, as there were pretty much no other people there. And there is also a small cave-like thing behind one of these old buildings with some old ancient toilets carved into the rocks, which is kind of random but pretty interesting to look at. And generally this bridge is just the best place for some photo taking in Ronda. And of course this is the main attraction, so if you're coming to Ronda you cannot miss out on it. Now heading over to number 2, although most people focus on the main big bridge, there is actually two smaller ones, but still pretty cool ones nearby. We have Puente Viejo and the smallest one, Puente de las Curtidurías, although I'm pretty sure I butchered those names pretty well. But anyways, the second bridge, which is Puente Viejo, is the second bridge, and it's quite a bit smaller than the main one, but still a pretty nice bridge, and it gives you some different views and angles of the gorge. And the views of the gorge and Ronda in general from here is just insanely incredible, and you won't need that much time here, but just stopping here and admiring the gorge and just the view in general is pretty nice. And then you of course also have the smallest bridge, which is Puente de las Curtiduras, and it's kind of tucked away a bit more, and it's not that impressive as it is a pretty small one, but it does give you a really cool view looking back at the second bridge. And it is also a great place to just walk by, because nearby you have other cool attractions that you can check out, which makes it a convenient place and a cool place to just walk through and have a quick stop at. And it is also cool to admire the two small bridges, because the main one gets all the attention but the second ones are a bit more quiet. Now close by the two other bridges, but still tucked away a bit from the other spots, making it a bit more of a quiet visit, we have the Buenos Árabes, which is the Arabs baths of Ronda. And a fun fact, based on multiple articles I read about this is actually one of the best preserved Arab bathhouses in all of Spain, making it a pretty cool, and in the aftermath of visiting it, a pretty special place to visit. And it only costs €3 to enter, which is 100% worth it. And it was actually built back when the Moors ruled this area during the Islamic occupation of Spain. And the Baños Árabes shows how people used to bathe and relax centuries ago. And there is also a short film being played in the most inner room here, where you can sit down at for a bit and just learn a bit about this place. And you can also walk through different rooms, you know, the cold rooms, the warm rooms, and even the hot baths, and you can still see how well the original structure is, still in a really good condition. And this would probably be a pretty quick stop, but it is still 100% worth a visit. And once you're done at this bathhouse, as you exit it and look outside, you should see a pretty big wall stretching along the eastern side of Ronda, hiding away big parts of the city. And on the eastern side of Ronda you will find a part of the old city walls, the Murallas del Carmen, and you can actually walk along parts of this wall and even climb up on top of the walls for some pretty great views. And you should totally head up here. And when I was there was basically no one else at this wall, so I just climbed up to the top, sat down for a bit and enjoyed some quiet time, and simply just enjoyed the beautiful views from up here, because you got great views of both Spain's countryside but also of the city side of Ronda. And it is also free to climb and visit, which of course is a bonus. Now for the fifth spot on the list, we're heading into something a bit more religious, and that is the church of Iglesia de Santa María la Mayor. Now this is the main church in Ronda, which was actually built on top of an old mosque. And even just from the outside it looks pretty cool, but if you do pay €2 to enter it for a student, or if I remember correctly €3.50 for a normal ticket, because the general inside of this church is just so incredible to look at, and with your ticket you can actually also climb up to the rooftop for free. And from the rooftop you will have some amazing views of Ronda as a city, and like I said, just Spain's countryside in general. And the views from up here is just insane, and it's just a pretty nice place to just relax a bit at, because you might also get some cool breeze up there, which is also of course nice in the warm Spanish sun. Now next on the list we're heading a bit upwards and back to some of the main areas of Ronda to check out the Mondragón Palace. Now although it has palace in its name, it's more of a museum style palace, and this was actually a pretty interesting place to visit and generally just an interesting place to walk around and look at the different things that is in there. And the general ticket to enter this museum or palace costs about €5. And a fun fact which you can probably guess based on the name, it did actually used to be a palace, which you will also probably be able to tell based on all the architecture and the way everything is structured, but it now has exhibits about Ronda's and I guess Spain in general's history, which is pretty cool to learn about and just look at. And even if you're not that into museums, there is also an outdoor courtyard area that you can stop at. And from this courtyard you will also have some pretty cool views over Spain in general, you know, the Spain countryside, the valley and just off Ronda. So it is totally worth a visit. Now after all that, another cool site to check out is the Puerta del Almocábar, and this is one of the old main gates that led into Ronda. Now it dates back to Moorish times and was built with more of an Arabic architectural style, however it was later reinforced by the Christians, so it has a mix of different styles and it just looks really cool. Now you can get some really nice views of it from down the road, especially around the roundabout that is in front of it, and especially looking up at the walls and tower and just the whole historical city in general is just so incredible. And you can even walk up to some areas of this wall, climb up to parts of it and just walk along it, and yeah, the views from up here and up from the wall in general is just even better. It's just so incredible to just look around and admire the city from here. Now next I'm gonna recommend something a bit different, which is the Bullrings of Ronda. Now this is actually one of the oldest bullrings in Spain and one of the most famous ones, which is pretty cool to think about. Now a ticket to enter this bullring comes in at €9, which is a bit expensive, but it can definitely be worth the visit. Now even if you're not into bullfighting, which I didn't see when I was there, I'm not sure if they still do bullfighting or not, but even if they don't and they don't have that when you're there, it is still a pretty cool place to enter. And also a pretty interesting place, because once you get inside the walls you can actually walk around the walls as in inside the walls and enjoy a pretty cool small museum explaining the history about this bullring and I guess the general bullring fighting aspect of Spain in general. And once you're done with the museum, you can also walk outside and admire the view of the general bull rings. So you can walk around the area where the bulls would actually, I guess, fight and stuff, and then you can also walk up to the seating areas, enjoy the bull ring from above. And although it wasn't one of my favorite sites in Ronda or something I would prioritize over something else, it was definitely worth a visit, especially if you have some extra time on your hands. And it was a really cool experience to have. So anyways, for number 9 on the list, we're of course gonna have to check out some of the many great viewpoints all around Ronda. Now Ronda being a small historical city makes it a great place to just walk around. Now there's a bunch of viewpoints that you can stop at, like for example the Mirador de Cuenca, which offers some great views of the bridge, of the main bridge from the east side. You can also walk just a few minutes from here and stop at the Jardines de Cuenca, which has even more great views of the gorge in general. Now the bridge is a bit more hidden from here, but it still offers some pretty cool views. And if you want to go from the main centrum of I guess the area around the main bridge over to, for example, the smaller bridges as I mentioned earlier, or even down to Arab baths, then it would be perfect to follow this path, which actually allows you to stop by these two viewpoints while you're on your way to the other bridges. And you can also enjoy other viewpoints, like for example the Mirador de Ronda, which is more on the west side of Ronda, which is a really nice spot for example sunsets. And also you can do the walk of Balcón del Cono, which is generally just a great spot to just walk along because it's quite a lot more of a quieter spot and it offers some peaceful, amazing views. And then finally on the list we have another church, which is the Church of Our Lady of Mercy. Now this is a smaller and more simple church, but it's still worth a quick stop. Now it is free to enter, which is of course great, and it's very stunning. Now there can sometimes be a lot of people here because it is free and it is pretty close into the city centrum where a lot of people do decide to stay, but it is still worth a visit and a quick stop if you are exploring something else nearby. And it is pretty small, so you won't need that much time anyways, but it is a cool spot to just check out, like I said, if you are in the area. So anyways, although I'm done with the top 10 list, I do have one more thing that I just thought I should have to mention, and that is that for visiting Ronda, make sure to just sit down at a few cafes, enjoy some lunch, enjoy some coffee in the morning, and just admire the view of the city. Now I would recommend you do this a bit earlier in the day, because a lot of people who visit Ronda only visit there during a day trip. So if you can get out a bit earlier, even just at 10 AM, it will still be pretty quiet. You can have big parts of the city for yourself. And for example, look at this footage I have right here that I took while I was in Ronda. I decided to sit down at a cafe around 10 AM to grab some breakfast and a cup of coffee, and there was basically no one there. Even along the main popular attraction in Ronda, which is the bridge, there was basically no one there. There was a few locals, a few tourists, a few locals driving over the bridge, but beside that it was pretty quiet. And just enjoying Ronda as a city in general a bit earlier in the morning can be pretty nice because, like I said, it is so much more quieter. And there is also lots of great bakeries all around there, so I would also recommend you check out some of those. But anyways guys, that is it for my Ronda top 10. From insane looking bridges to deep gorges and old city views, viewpoints, historical buildings, this place has so much to offer. And I just love this place so much, so I'll definitely have to come back here someday in the future. So anyways, let me know what your favorite spots in Ronda are down in the comments, and anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.